If you want my Python and C notes, they're linked in the description. They're currently 90% off, but only for a limited time. Alright, let's build a Python number guessing game from scratch. We'll start with a completely empty file, then we'll build the game one step at a time. Along the way, you'll learn how to use variables, random numbers, user input, loops, and conditional statements. By the end of this video, you'll have a fully working Python project that you can build on yourself. Alright, let's start coding. The first thing we need is a way for Python to choose a random number. Python already gives us a module for that called random. A module is simply a file that contains useful code written by other programmers. Instead of writing everything ourselves, we can simply import it. So let's type our first line of code. Now let's create a function to hold our entire game. A function is simply a reusable block of code that performs a specific task. Instead of putting everything directly into the file, we'll keep our code organized inside this function. Let's call it number_guessing game. Let's call it. Now we need the computer to secretly choose a random number. We'll store that number in a variable called secret_number. To generate it, we'll use the randint function from the random module we imported earlier. We'll tell Python to pick any whole number between 1 and 50. The player won't know what that number is, but Python will. Let's write that now. Before the player starts guessing, we need to keep track of two things. First, how many guesses they've made. We'll store that in a variable called attempts and start it at 0. Next, we'll decide the maximum number of guesses the player gets. Let's give them 5 attempts. Now, let's write both variables. Now let's tell the player what the game is about. We'll print a welcome message explaining that the computer is thinking of a number between 1 and 50. Then we'll let the player know they only have 5 attempts to guess it. This makes the game much clearer before we ask for any input. Let's add those messages now. Now we need the game to keep asking the player for a guess. We don't want the game to stop after just one attempt. Instead, we'll use a while loop. A while loop keeps running as long as its condition is true. In our case, we'll keep looping while the number of attempts is less than the maximum number of attempts. Let's write the loop. Now let's ask the player to enter a guess. We'll use Python's input function to get what the player types. By default, input returns text, but we're expecting a number, so we'll wrap it with the int function to convert the text into an integer. We'll also store the result in a variable called guess. Let's write that now. Every time the player makes a guess, we need to increase the number of attempts. We'll use the plus equals operator to add 1 to the current value. So after each guess, the attempts counter increases automatically. Let's add that line now. Now we need to compare the player's guess with the secret number. We'll start with our first condition. If the guess is less than the secret number, we'll tell the player their guess was too low. Let's write that now. Now let's handle the opposite situation. If the player's guess is greater than the secret number, we'll tell them their guess was too high. We'll use the keyword elif, which is short for else if. Python will only check this condition if the first one was false. Let's add it now. Now there's only one possibility left. The player guessed the correct number. We'll use the else statement to handle that case. First, we'll congratulate the player. Then we'll reveal the secret number and show how many attempts it took. Finally, we'll use the return statement to end the game immediately. If the player uses all of their attempts without guessing the correct number, the while loop will end automatically. So outside the loop, we'll print a final message revealing the secret number. Finally, we'll call our function to start the game. And let's test it.
Moment of truth. Let's run our program and see if everything works. The game is thinking of a random number between 1 and 50. Let's make our first guess. I'll go with 40. Too high. That means the secret number must be lower. Let's try 25. Still too high. We're getting closer. Let's go a little lower and try 15. Too low. Great. Now we know the number is somewhere between 15 and 25. Let's try 20. That's still a little too high. So the number must be between 15 and 20. I'll guess 18. And there we go. Our game works exactly as expected. It guided us after every guess, counted our attempts automatically, and stopped as soon as we guessed the correct number. And just like that, we've built a complete Python number guessing game from scratch. Great job.